Good evening, and welcome to Historically Black Sense News, where HBCU pride and Black Greek excellence take center stage.
That's right. I'm Deuce Tucker, a proud Florida A&M University alum.
And I am Heaven Cunningham, reporting live as your Miss Chain University of Pennsylvania.
Tonight's lineup is packed. Now let's get into it.
Now, first up, Wiley University is pouring into the community in a major way. They just launched a free financial literacy and wellness program open to the public.
Wow. This initiative was made possible through a $1.5 million grant from the T.D. Jakes Foundation and Wells Fargo, part of a larger $9 million investment into 13 organizations, including 3 HBCUs.
And of course, the goal is to help people make smarter money decisions, whether you're just starting your journey or trying to build generational wealth.
Now, that's what we call putting resources back into the community. And speaking of the community,
let's take it to Jackson State. Let's take it to Jackson, Mississippi, where the JSU students just installed 150 Ring doorbell cameras for elderly residents living near campus.
Yes, this initiative was powered by a $50,000 grant from Home Depot and shows how students are stepping up to protect their elders.
It's safety, service, and student-led impact. We love to see it, JSU.
Okay, now.
This was through a grant by Home Depot, $50,000 grant, and we were able to install 150 Ring cameras.
One of the students involved in the project is currently working towards a master's in cybersecurity at Jackson State.
Cybersecurity is all about helping people, especially the elderly, who are the most vulnerable, feel safer in their communities.
Hello. Hey, I'm here to get some vegetables from the garden.
JSU's community engagement program started the initiative to give back to seniors who live around the university.
It really is bridging the gap between our young folks and our wise folks in the community.
As I get a little more mature in age, it makes me feel much more secure, especially when I was away from home just this week.
Yes, I love that. Community outreach is powerful, but so is breaking barriers in sports. And our next story is just that.
Yes, it is just that indeed. Shout out to my cousins at Delaware State University. Let's give it up for HBCU history. Delaware State University just has hired Kenya Sloan as their first ever women's wrestling head coach.
Wow. Now, DSU is officially launching the first D1 women's wrestling team at an HBCU this fall, thanks to a $1.25 million gift from HBCU Wrestling. Money, 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 money.
Hey, let's go, cousins. Now, for making history on the mat to honoring history itself. This next story is all about legacy.
As we just celebrated Juneteenth, it's only right we honor the woman who made it a national holiday, Miss Opal Lee, the grandmother of Juneteenth. She is a Wiley University alum and a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated.
Yes, she walked around the country to bring attention to this cause, and her legacy continues to shine. Let's take a look at this video we created in her honor.
Yeah, Miss Opal Lee, she's one of a kind.
Yes, I definitely shared this story as well. This is my favorite story of Juneteenth.
And she's almost 100 years old, still outside.
In the field.
Come on now. It don't matter where, she's still representing. We love that.
Yes.
Especially with her counterparts, 5, 15-year-olds, 25-year-olds, and she's almost 100. That's a blessing.
Right.
That is very much a blessing. Oh my gosh, I never even seen this picture before.
Do not let anyone tell you you're too young or too old. Still making a difference. And we appreciate that Juneteenth national holiday. We really do.
Absolutely. And she was nominated. I wish she would have won, but she was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize as well.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you all know we love honoring our past, but we also love shouting out those preparing for the future, like these next students.
Yes, a major salute to the students who just graduated from the field of training. the halfway point of the Air Force ROTC program.
These students represent HBCUs in schools across the country, and they're on their way to becoming commissioned officers in the United States Air Force.
Yes, congratulations again. Now, let's wrap the news with some words that hit the soul from a woman who always delivers a word.
Now, that's indeed true. Actress, advocate, and queen of encouragement, Cheryl Lee Ralph, spoke at Norfolk State recently, and her message was simple. The best is in front of you, not behind you.
Let's just say she left no dry eyes in that room. Okay, here's a moment from her speech.
Not ignore the setbacks. Do not be fooled into believing that the best is behind you, because trust me, the best is still ahead of you, and it is always ahead of you. Forward ever, backwards never.
I love her, man. She's so dramatic too. Like, forward ever, backwards never. Like,
Yes, that's the theatrics we need behind our destinies. Okay.
Absolutely, I love that. I love that.
Now, let's shift over to our favorite host, Shamai, who's standing by with three very special guests.
Good evening, guys. I love Shirley Roth. Let me tell you, I love her in Abbott Elementary, former Dream Girl, the original Dream Girl. People need to do their research on Shirley Roth. And Marisha, of course, but Emmy Award winning. And she's a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated as well. Look at that. Look at that. We love being some. Yeah, we love Shirley Roth. I love her. Well, thank you guys. Good evening to you, Deuce, and good evening to you, Heaven. Our first guest tonight is a Howard University alumni who is the founder and executive director of a HBCU-inspired private school in Louisville, Kentucky called Coleman Preparatory Academy. Please welcome Asa B. Coleman to the show. Hello, Asa. Welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
I'm fine. How are you?
I see you rep. I'm well. I see you repping HU tonight. I love the shirt.
Of course.
Yes, no problem. Let's start here. You hold, like I said in the intro, you are a Howard alumni. You hold a degree in legal communications from the alleged HU, right? Is that alleged or is that real?
It's the only, right?
Oh,
we are the HU.
Yeah. But talk about your experience in your and why did you want to go to Howard? What was your experience like?
Okay, so, in high school, I went to a pretty mixed high school. However, my classes were not mixed. I was one of two Black kids in every single classroom because I was honors in AP classes. So, I was scouted by a lot of Ivy League universities, but I wanted to go to an HBCU. My mom went to Norfolk State. My dad went to Tuskegee. So that HBCU piece was already very important to my family. I only applied to Howard and Hampton because, again, I'm from Norfolk. So I do have some love for Hampton University. I'll say that, but it is not the real HU. I got to be very clear.
Okay.
But no, I wanted a very different experience from what I had in high school. And yeah, Howard was the place.
Now you talk about Ivy Leagues. Howard is the Black Harvard, as they say, the Black Yale, as they say. Can you talk about the type of lessons did you learn to implement? Because you went on to get your master's degree at George Mason University. How did Howard prepare you to go into the real world?
So again, since it was so different from my high school experience, I felt very comfortable, right? I felt very much at home, and that was in stark contrast, right? So it was a space where I felt comfortable. I felt I could be myself. I could be my best self. I was kind of trained to be my best self, speak up for myself, be able to exude the right energy. And that was because of the people that were around me. My professors were esteemed. They knew exactly what they were talking about, but they could also be very relatable and they cared about you. And when I went to George Mason, I was back to like high school. I was in a minority space, but I was still confident in who I was and knew when I opened my mouth, I was going to be heard because I knew what I was talking about and I was prepared, to exert the energy that I needed to.
You have more than 2 degrees. I mentioned the the degree from George Mason, and obviously got your bachelor's from Howard, but you went to an Ivy League in Cornell. Right. Talk about, and you got a certificate from in women entrepreneurship, and you got your doctoral degree from there as well. How did you, transition from learning from being in an all black environment to transition to being in a predominantly white environment?
So let me correct you. I actually was working on my doctorate at University of Louisville, but I do have a
Louisville. Okay.
certificate
Okay. My
in
apologies.
women's entrepreneurship from Cornell. Again, I think what Howard did for me was to make sure I knew who I was, right? Who I am as a woman, as a black person. So when I go into these predominantly white spaces, it's not a threat, right? I might feel uncomfortable, but I know that when I'm in those spaces, I am there to represent, right? And then that gives me that boost. That gives me that confidence that I need. And so again, it allows me to be able to kind of code switch on all, and it puts me in that position. So I've been able to thrive in these spaces. Because I'll be honest, when I say I went to Howard University, that gets more than George Mason does, right?
Yeah.
And I like that.
Like I said in the intro, you are a founder and the executive director of Coleman Preparatory Academy, which is the HBCU inspired private school in Louisville, Kentucky. It's a K-3 through 6th grade institution. Talk about what made you want to start this school and the process behind it. I know that's a big process.
Yes.
And a lot of money involved. So how did that work out?
So all right, so there's a couple of things, but I moved to Louisville, Kentucky to start a charter school, right? And I wanted the charter school because I did not want to have to charge tuition for families. But Louisville at the time and Kentucky at the time had passed legislation to have charter schools, but did not pass legislation to fund them. So I was kind of stuck, kind of waiting for that legislation to pass. Breonna Taylor situation happened here in Louisville, and it just kind of felt like you had that and you had COVID. And so you have families feeling this racial tension because of the Breonna Taylor situation. And you have families feeling like their kids are falling further behind because of COVID. So it was like, you know what, we have to open. We need to go ahead and get started. And so we had to open as a private school, which means, we do a lot of fundraising. We do have to charge a tuition. And although we want to get families that don't necessarily have that money, we have to try to fundraise to make the difference. Now, to answer the other part of the question, why? I know how I thrived at Howard. And although I was successful in my high school and in these predominantly white spaces, that was because of my parents. My parents made sure I had a very strong foundation at home, but not all families had that. And not all parents had that acumen, and that's okay. So I wanted to kind of bridge that gap. I wanted to give a space where students can be themselves, they can feel comfortable. The HBCU piece is that sense of belonging. It is that Black history. We teach Black history every single day. If you go on our Instagram page, you'll see some of the things that our students are able to share. We're called the Trailblazers for a reason, because we are making history every single day in this space.
With a lot of success, it comes with a lot of credibility and a lot of backlash. How have you dealt with that type of, because this is a great thing you're doing, Louisville, it's a very, mostly Black community. How did that, kind of backlash, because Kentucky is a red state, but you're still in the the private sector of education. How did the backlash affect you, and how did you overcome it?
So that's a good question. In a way, I'm an anomaly, right? Because in the States, doing charter and funding in that way is a Republican initiative, right? So I have to walk this very thin line in regards to wanting something about school choice. And for us, that's a Republican initiative. And so in a way, I need to push for school choice because that will give the families that want to come to Coleman Prep the money to do so. Okay. You don't have many Black private schools. That's not a normal thing, right? And so you have this pushback of people saying, no, we need our children to go to public school because public school is supposed to do these things. They might be supposed to do, but they're not. They're not doing what they need to do by Black students. Not all Black students, right? Some students will go to public school like me and thrive. but not all students are getting exactly what they need. So I have this kind of pushback with that. Like, I'm not against public school. I just have to acknowledge that public school is not for every child. And if we're very honest, we can all agree on that. But then I also have this weird space where, I have to fundraise with people who don't necessarily look like me. And explain what an HBCU inspired school is. And some people I say those letters and they're just like, huh, what is that? And so, I have to advocate for people who don't look like me to give me money to educate people who do look like me. And so I'm kind of fighting a little bit of a battle between everyone. But for my families who choose to have their child enrolled at Coleman Prep, I'm willing to do that.
Now, what's the population like of the school, and how many students are enrolled in there currently?
Okay, so we have about 30 students. Again, we do have to charge of tuition. So if we were able to offset that cost and provide tuition assistance, I would have way more students. And that's just being very real. In terms of students, my population is 100% Black. In terms of staffing, we are 75% Black. My one white teacher, she actually is doing her master's degree at Norfolk State. So, that HBCU piece rubbed off on her. So, I'm proud to say she does that and she loves it. But yeah, so that's what our staffing looks like. And our children, our students are 100% Black.
Well, we wish you nothing but the best. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Miss. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No problem, Miss Asa Coleman there. All right. Our next guests are sisters who are both a part of Swing by Swing Social Fellowship Incorporated. Please welcome Layla Sample and Taylor A. Madden to the show. Hello, how are you? Hello, ladies, how are you?
Good evening. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well. Hello, Miss Sample and Miss Madden. First of all, let's start here. Swing by Swing Social Fellowship Incorporated. A lot of people don't know the history behind it. It's much different than the D9, as many people might know. Can you give a little background? I know it was founded at a historically Black institution, Winston-Salem State. But can you talk about why did you guys want to join this organization and the impact? How does it impact your community? I'm going to start with Miss Madden. Go ahead.
I wanted to join Swing by Swing Social Fellowship Incorporated because it spoke to my passion as a community activist, someone that is very, very passionate about community service. I did my research about Swing by Swing prior to joining, and they are very community service centered and about the community. So that just aligned with me and who I was when I was looking to join an organization.
Miss Sample?
So I as well did my research. I'm very community service oriented. I was looking for a sisterhood or organization that was in alignment with where I was in my life at that time. And after doing my research and having conversations with different people who were familiar with Swing by Swing Social Fellowship Incorporated, I felt like it was the place for me and I would flourish. And I have since I've become a part of this organization.
Miss Madden, you have a big background in community service, like you said, but also with a little media side. You're a content creator. Talk about your background in that, and you also are in Jersey right now, New Jersey, in the Zuru chapter. Correct? Am I pronounced Zuru?
Listen, NJ Zuri of Benrin Abike IA graduate chapter.
Thank you for that. I wanted to fact check. Thank you for fact checking.
Which means beautiful women born to treasure life. Yes. So to answer your question, I've always been passionate about graphic design and photography, and videography. Growing up, I grew up in like the early 2000s. So art wasn't something that our families pushed, right? It was either doctor, lawyer, police, those types of industries. So I didn't really get a chance to kind of follow my passion in a sense. Since joining Swing, I have been able to really tap back into that passion of mine and use my graphic design skills and still sharpening those skills and growing and using it for my chapter and for my organization.
Miss Sample, you have a big background in healthcare. You're a hospice director. You have over 15 years of service in public health and in hospice care. What made you want to get into the health industry?
I am also from New Jersey. I grew up in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Atlantic City has a big urban community, and within the African American community, we often face a lot of issues with high blood pressure, cholesterol, heart health, and all those things I saw growing up, and I wanted to be able to be part of the change. I also, early in my career, worked with the Department of Health in the state of New Jersey to establish the first syringe exchange program, which was very significant in reducing the transmission of HIV and AIDS and hepatitis C within our community. So I've always wanted to be able to give back to the community that helped raise me, specifically to the African American community, because that's what I saw growing up.
I want to get into how Miss Madden, you have Tay Unlock, which is a digital platform that blends visual storytelling, cultural commentary, and healing centered content. What made you want to create this platform?
Sure. So I recently lost my father in August of 2023, and grief is interesting. Grief is never ending. Grief is something that doesn't have a start and doesn't have an end. And I needed an outlet other than therapy, other than talking to family, other than talking to friends, where I felt like I could reach other people who are going through things just like me. So I created Tay Unlocked, where I do weekly content, whether it's get ready with me's, whether it's talking about my grief, whether it's talking about the low moments of my healing, and then the high moments of my healing. And I get a lot of feedback of individuals who are experiencing the similar things that I am.
Well, amazing. Now, you guys are both sisters, right? Both raised in Jersey. Now, did you guys intentionally join the same, organization on purpose, or can you talk about your journeys on going to, Swing Fi Swing?
So we're sisters, but we're chapter sisters. Like we're not
Yeah,
related or anything.
no, I'm sorry
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. No, it's fine. Um, so like, if you want to start, I just wanted to give that preface.
Can you repeat the question, please?
No, I just want to talk about, in Jersey, talk about, the culture of, Swing Fi Swing, because the demographic, it's no HBCUs in New Jersey. You understand what I'm saying? So that's really not, promoted, as much as a D9 or something, or another Greek letter organization. So talk about the type of impact Swing Fi Swing has in the New Jersey area.
So we have several chapters in New Jersey. We have New Jersey, it's a pretty big state. So we have several chapters that can cover the entire state of New Jersey. What we do, we are very community-based, very sisterhood-based. And what our chapters do is we are very embedded into our communities. So Taylor and I are in the southern part of New Jersey. So not everything that goes on in South Jersey are the same issues that are going on in North Jersey. So what chapters do is we figure out, how we can be most impactful within our own communities, and we insert ourselves into those communities by diaper drives, book drives. Sister Taylor, she, along with another organization, she was very instrumental in helping back to school. We were able to vaccinate students back to school. We were able to do physicals for students to go back to school because they may not have had the funds, or the clinics didn't have appointments and they need to be back in school. So these are some of the things that we are able to do within our communities, because every community has a different need. In addition to that, we have national initiatives. So each chapter also works in alignment with our national office to make sure that we are participating in the national initiatives as well. So New Jersey is very unique. However, on a national level, all of our chapters throughout the country participate in the national initiatives. So we do have a lot in common with all of our other chapters throughout the country.
Can you talk about the misconceptions about Miss Swing Fight Swing, Miss Madden?
Sure. So a lot of people assume that we are a part of the D9. The D9 knows that we are not a part of the D9. We're not inside. We're just not a part of. So the phi. So I guess you're asking more towards the phi in our name.
Yeah.
Right. And the phi as a Greek letter was originally incorporated due to Morgan State College, now university's policy. That I'll say around 1962 when Groove Phi Groove was incorporated. So the founders of Groove Phi Groove applied with this policy in order to charter on their campus. So kind of amid during the Black Power movement and the Civil Rights era, our founders were inspired to create an organization that embraced Afrocentricity and stood apart from traditional Black Greek letter organizations. They aim to honor tradition and maintain uniformity as the sister organization to Group Phi Group Social Fellowship Incorporated, which has the Greek letter Phi in its name. Decades later, the inclusion of the Phi in our name continues to serve as a symbolic acronym, which means promoting higher intelligence, which reinforces our cohesive identity to avoid being categorized as a Greek org, that they deliberately choose the words or the term social fellowship over sorority, which signaled a departure from the conventional Greek fraternal system and underscoring our distinct identity.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming on, Miss Sample and Miss Madden. Thank you so much.
Can I just add one more thing about
Go right
our
ahead. Yeah,
community?
go right ahead.
So the national initiatives actually are PHI, which is our educational school mentorship, school supplies, and scholarship. Then we have women's health, primarily focusing on African American women's health. And then we have Good, which is our global outreach and optimism in the diaspora. So that's our international initiative. Where recently we partnered with an org called Veronica's Way, and we gave shoes to families over in Ghana. And then just our chapter, the NJ Zoria Benrin BKIA chapter, just in 2024 did 600 community service hours alone within the year. So we don't play about our communities. We are very active, and when we show up and we partner with D9 orgs, they know who we are. We have a good time, and we serve the community together.
Thank you so much, Layla Sample and Taylor A. Madden, so much for coming on Historically Black Sense News. Thank you, Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
No problem. All right, our final guest tonight is a senior theater performance major at FAMU, Deuces Institution, and the first woman appointed head drum major for the Marching 100. Please welcome Olamala Dupe Alumide to the show. Hello, Dupe. Welcome to the show. Did I butcher your name? I hope I did it.
Yes, but I can correct it. My name is Oluwamodupe Oloyede. That's my name.
Yes. But your nickname is Dupe.
It's a shortened version of my name, yes.
Okay. Dupe. Yes. I'm sorry for that. But first of all, I want to congratulate you. You are history. Like I said in the intro, the first female drum major of the Marching 100. What does that feel like? Can you talk about that?
So also to correct you, I'm the first woman to hold the position of head drum major. Our first woman drum major is Corey Bostic, and she served in 2018, which is ironic because I was also a drum major at that time in high school. But the feeling is exhilarating. It's an immense honor to be selected and an honor to serve. I am more than blessed to be in this position. And what it feels like a good level of pressure, because I'm all about service and I'm all about making sure that the Marching 100 is the prime number one example of what bands should be like. And that is what we've been doing before I got here. So to be in this position, to continue doing that is an honor. So thank you.
You know, you didn't start off at FAMU. You started off at Howard. What made you want to transfer over to FAMU?
Honestly, it was really about time and God's planning to have me at FAMU. Like being at Howard for that year set me up tremendously in the world of theater. And I was still in band. I was still playing my saxophone. I met great people and it just helped me understand it was time to come to FAMU. I grew up in a FAMU tradition. My high school band, my middle school band a little bit, but my high school band predominantly is in the FAMU tradition. It's one of the largest feeder schools to come here. So when my first day in the Howard band room, I didn't play B flat warm up. I cried. I literally cried. I just never have experienced that, not playing B flat warm up to be the first thing. And B flat warm up is one of our trademark warm up songs, and having played it for 5 years, and I didn't do that first day at Howard. It was like, what I didn't get musically though, and like in the band sense, I definitely got theatrically. And so now I'm piecing it all together because at FAMU, I have an amazing theatrical experience, and taking the skills that I learned my first year in musical theater at Howard, I never regretted that. So I'm grateful.
Talk about the type of praise and love that you have gotten from, your other HBCU counterparts from other bands and stuff. How have your history making impact the drum majors across the country at HBCUs?
Some things that I'm very grateful, because one thing that I appreciate about the organizations I'm in, I'm also a member of Tau Beta Sigma National Honorary Band Sorority. And it's great seeing women who aspire to do it and do it. And it's also great to see those women who are like on the fence. And I'm like, girl, just get over the fence, do it, go and do it. So I'm loving that part of it. I'm loving inspiring women. I'm loving being inspired by women who have messaged me and said, oh, I went to Winston-Salem, or I did it at Savannah State. And I'm like, you go, girl. Or people who aren't even drum majors at their school saying, I'm proud of you. I love it so much because I'm a supporter of HBCU. So I'm very, very, very happy and really glad. And it feels really nice to hear people that go to other HBCUs, when we're on the field, it's beef, but off the field, I love that.
Can you talk about, the importance of the arts and music? Why should people support, these programs at HBCUs and the importance of it when it comes to culture on campus?
Definitely. My first year in college, I basically wrote an entire paper about what happens when you take arts out of education. The children don't thrive. We suffer when you take arts out of education. It's like when your parents ask you, who do you want to be when you grow up? And you say, oh, I want to be a musician. And you say they don't make money. And then you go in the car. What's the first thing they do?
Play music. Yeah.
Exactly. That's an understanding. Like there's a lottery. There's a lot of hard work, dedication, and opportunity making success happen. But promoting arts and education is stimulating the mind. There's some students who don't do too well with grammar, but if you teach them a song, they'll get it better. So the brain just works, especially my brain particularly, and being an advocate in this seat, our brains work with music, with rhythm. You feel it, your body has a certain rhythm to it. So advocating for arts and music, I feel like it just can't be separated. We advocate a lot for STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, but I'm always for putting that A in there, that art.
That art. Yeah, and that comes with a lot of support. And talk about the type of support that you guys have, from alumni, from students, and now your new president.
Rattler Nation is a different type of experience. Like if you don't understand HBCU culture, I think the hardest homecoming to come to try to understand would be FAMU homecoming, because if you're not in it, you would really want to be, because being a Rattler is a unique experience. So alumni support is immense. I'm so grateful to be at this HBCU period, to be in this number, but at this HBCU, orange and green bleeds differently. We have a lot of supporters. Our games are packed. So topping with being the number one public HBCU, having sold out games, having all that Rattler pride on a nationwide level is amazing. The Alumni Association has offered me a scholarship that I accepted last year. I won the Dr. William P. Foster scholarship, which is given to support students in the band. And it's the highest honor to be bestowed upon a student. And I'm grateful that I have gotten it. Our alumni association is one to be reckoned with. You mess with one of us, they gonna call you. So I'm very grateful about them.
Before we let you go, some inspiration for people who are, timid or, afraid to, be a drum major, or, or just scared just to show their light. What are some words of inspirations you would give them?
My favorite poem is Our Deepest Fear by Marianne Williamson. And it came to me at a time when I was also experiencing self-doubt. And one of the lines in the poem asks, "Who are you not to be fabulous, talented, gifted?" And I'm briefly paraphrasing here, but then the response is, who are you not to be? We were all created to show the goodness of God, the light of God that God has put within us. So to that self-doubt, I would say there's no room for it because you were crafted for a purpose. Go out and do it. Don't ask for permission. Maybe ask for forgiveness, but don't ask for permission to go and seize your destiny. And for those people who are your friends, be a good friend and also support those around you because you'll need it eventually as well. So stand in your light, shine, and don't be afraid to take up space.
Can you talk about the history behind your name? Your name is so beautiful, Omalama Dupe. Can you talk about the history behind that?
Yes. Oluwa Modupe in Yoruba. I'm Yoruba and I'm Nigerian. So my name means Lord, I thank you. My middle name means, depending on how you pronounce it, Ore Oluwa means a gift from God or a friend of God. And my last name is Oloyede. So that means the chief has come. And I think that I'm living up to my names, especially my placement in my family. I'm very grateful. So that's my first name. I've been given the opportunity to be a gift of service to so many communities. And I feel like God is really favoring me right now. So that's what friends do. And my name at one point in time was the chief. So I'm definitely living up to my name and the heritage of such, and just standing in the light that and the dreams of the wildest dreams of my ancestors. So I'm very grateful.
Well, Omalama Dupe Oloyede, we appreciate you so much for coming on Historically Black Sense News, and you're living up to your name. Okay, you're definitely living up to your name.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to some performances with the 100 and seeing you all there if you choose to report. Some things that we have coming up: band camp. The first band camp is July 9th through 12th, followed by our traditional band camp, which is July 13th through the 19th. And then the 100 is on a roll. We got the first performance in Houston in our Battle of the Bands, followed by performing at the U.S. Open to honor a Rattler, Althea Gibson, as well as the Orange Blossom Classic, notably in Miami, Florida. So if you're getting your tickets, get them fast because the Rattlers come and get them. So looking forward to see you all there and seeing us perform as well.
Have you got a chance to talk with your new president, Marva Johnson, to see how? No, well, hopefully she enjoys you guys too. I bet she does. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much. Thank you
so much. No problem. Let's get into let's bring in Deuce in Heaven. What's going on, guys? Deuce Heaven.
Yeah.
Hello.
What's up, bro?
Great conversations. How you guys doing? How you like those conversations?
Oh yeah, those were pretty prominent guests you had, especially
with that Rattler. Yeah,
that Rattler, she can speak.
It must be something in that water, because you could speak a little bit too, dude. So.
It's just the way they prepare us, man. For
it's something in
war on the battlefields and the classrooms. It's something different when you bleed that orange and green, man. It's something.
Yeah. Hopefully that continues with the new president. But we digress. And other
I definitely believe that it's time to kick back and break it all down. So, team, what's up with y'all most this week? Like throughout all our segments.
I go ahead, Deuce. You can start first.
Well, honestly, personally, I loved when Shirley Ralph delivered that speech. And the thing about her, she has so much theatrics when she speaks. However, she's efficient with the way she talks and communicates with people. Doesn't matter who you are. You can be a janitor, you can be a CEO. Her passion still contributes throughout any atmosphere. And I love when she said, "Forward ever, backwards never." It's very true. because it's so passionate, but it's also very transparent for what some people might feel as if their best days are behind them, but in fact, their best days are in front of them. They just haven't realized it yet because they have to be pushed out into the world and be uncomfortable. So
yeah, she's Jamaican, so Jamaicans are, you can hear it in her voice. But knowing her work and all this stuff, she's really, it gets greater later, like they say. But she's a great actress, and that transpired from her work on Abbott Elementary. And I remember her Emmy award-winning speech when she said, "Some people don't have to like you, some people don't have to want you to be there." I'm just paraphrasing, but it's her, just the way she presents herself, like you said, Deuce. I just love it. I just love it. Go ahead, Hannah. I mean, go ahead, Heaven. I said Hannah.
It's okay. I know Cheryl's in our mind right now. I loved her speech as well. And I think that coming back and pouring back into your community and, these testimonies that we get from those who have went through our systems of not even just HBCUs, but just higher education in general, just continuing to uplift each other and understand that the work that we're doing now definitely will pay off later. Amen. I personally had to shout out my brothers and sisters at JSU because the Ring camera and sponsorship with Home Depot, like I love a good partnership with national companies, organizations, and foundations with HBCU students, because it shows like we really have an impact as young people and our voices truly do matter.
Well, these corporate companies are seeing that HBCU moves the needle, and I think Home Depot definitely put their mouth with their money where their mouth is, and that was a big deal.
Yeah, but it also shows the humility that young people could also contribute to like smaller communities. Doesn't matter if it's Jackson, Mississippi, Shreveport, Louisiana. You being able to raise money for a certain initiative that will actually benefit people, not necessarily just your friends, but people you probably don't even know, that can help you in so many areas and aspects when it comes to who you are as a person. I feel like that's a prominent and justifying thing to do, and I love it and respect it as well.
So now that we've covered all the headlines, let's talk real life for a few minutes, y'all.
Okay, but we got some students and alumni at the table, so let's dig into how these stories hit for us personally.
From managing money to serving the communities, these topics go beyond the yard. They hit home. So guys, let's talk about this. What's something about money management that you wish you knew before going into college? I want to start off with Deuce because since he's the old head in the bunch. What are some things that you wish you knew before getting into college, probably in the 90s?
Man, his brother, he got him rolling today. He got him rolling today on live too.
All right, now, Shamar.
I don't want to get him. But no, I just learned honestly when it comes to like life in general, from money to just the ways I'm able to contribute to myself, being overall well endowed. Honestly, being resourceful. In regards of sometimes you have people who just want to buy these $40 Ubers to go 20 minutes across town. Well, in fact, personally, I have no problem getting on the bus. $2.75 me every single day. All right. Because honestly, it's like, my point of my perspective is trying to get from A to B. Now, I understand if not necessarily aware of the environment or the areas of things of that nature, but if you are, why not? That's just a good example for me to be able to understand that, hey, I can save some money in my pockets. So I can contribute this to later. I can buy groceries and meal prep. Or I could be able to give the homeless man $5 or buy him a lunch. That's why I tried to do at least every other week when I was in college. So that's why it's so pivotal for you to be able to actually like just think before you do, because I feel as if you buy them $200 pair of shoes that just came out, but you could have got a couple pair of Huaraches and Air Force Ones for the same price and still look as good, if not better. So I feel as if
style.
I'm just asking. No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I didn't even sell them anymore.
I haven't seen them since high school. Not in the 90s.
Yeah, for real. No, you were in the 90s. You were in high school with Harriet Tubman, but we digress. With your founders of Omega Sci-Fi. But Heaven, what is some advice you would give to people, financial advice about going to college that you knew about before that you wish you knew before going into college?
Well, my advice as a 21-year-old rising senior would be to get advice. So I'm just really happy that Wiley College, is introducing more resources for financial literacy, because I know personally as a business administration major, financial literacy ties almost into every single lesson that I learn. I think that especially within Black communities, financial literacy needs to be something that is not just for people who have a lot of money. Being a college student, having to, like Deuce said, just have different resources at your hands, but knowing exactly what to do with them. So I know personally, coming in as an HBCU scholar, I didn't know that there were HBCU specific resources that I could have, HBCU Black female specific resources that I could have, such as different scholarships that were catered to me, that were created for me by people that look like me, So I just wish that we knew how much more was actually out there to help us.
Yeah. Now, what are some apps or stuff that you guys use to budget your money?
So when I used it for a while, but I got tired of the subscription. I used to use Rocket Money.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it allowed me to be able to categorize the things that I needed in regards to what are priorities and things of nature. And I hate to say it, honestly, but I don't at the same time, because they say it's hurting not the community, but the environment. ChatGPT, bro. I said, hey, create me a solidified budget in regards to this amount, and I promise you, it breaks it down in seconds. And it's actually like I'm actually able to use it to the point of course, sometimes a couple of numbers might be here and there, but in regards to the whole picture and image, ChatGPT sometimes it definitely contributes. Now, you young whippersnappers, so y'all a little lucky because y'all can use it for a whole bunch of other things. When I was in school, we had to get in them books, or Quizlet. But honestly, yeah, I just use different resources when it comes to that. And I have like a little budgeting book that I bought from Walmart as well. So just kind of breaking things down and taking pictures of my receipts for tax write-offs. Do that now so you can be able to contribute as well.
Heaven?
How do I personally budget? Again, I feel like I have a very unique experience as a Black female HBCU student right now. How do I personally budget? No, definitely through my notes app, keeping checks and things like that. But I personally believe that it's about sowing the tide for me as well. So for example, with my Miss Chain University campaign, I created a scholarship called the Sowing the Tide Scholarship. So I believe that I make my smart money choices based on not living beyond my means, understanding that just because I have it now doesn't mean that I will have it forever. So I'm constantly investing every single dollar that I make back into, if it's not myself, back into my community. And I feel like God makes his way from there.
Now, with budgeting, it comes to mistakes. What's the biggest money mistake you made as a student, Deuce?
There's so many. No, Kiki, I'm gonna get on you.
I really need you to answer that question.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna think about it. Woo, man. It's been a few. Honestly, I feel as if the biggest one that I've made was a consistent one. I would always decide to just, go out and eat. You know what I'm saying? In regards to different, foods. Like let's say if I already have my meal plan, but all I'm doing is going to Chick-fil-A every other day, spending all that them flex dollars. I don't know if the old heads that are watching know what flex is.
Oh, I know. We have that too.
I know you. I know about the old heads
at Fayetteville State. We call it Bronco Bucks, but I train. Fayetteville State Bronco Bucks. Yeah, we are Bronco Bucks. But it's kind of like flex, where you got your meal plan. Additionally, with money though, for you could go around the vendors around campus.
Absolutely. So then when my flex ran out, I'm like, I still want Chick-fil-A. So somebody wasn't, contributing to the young man trying to get an education fund in regards of parents or friends on campus who just wanted to be nice. I started here and there swiping. I'm like, I could really go to Piggly Wiggly, because we had a Piggly Wiggly around the corner, get a couple of leg quarters. Let it marinate.
Country. This is country.
Stop it. Not more than Fayetteville State.
No, Jessica, we don't have no.
Tallahassee's in the capital of Florida.
Well, I'm just beyond confused.
See, that's the thing. My thing is this, because y'all so used to getting things easy from Chipotle to Chick-fil-A.
Hold on, wait a minute.
This is a geographical issue. This is not
thank you so much. This is a geographical issue because the Piggly Wiggly, we don't have that in Fayetteville. Number one, we got a Wawa's on the way. Well, we got a 7-Eleven. We got we got all that stuff. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cute. but no, just in general though, that's just an example. Like just going to the store, being resourceful. Throwing some chicken on the grill, or even just getting some vegetables. I can be able to meal prep over a few days instead of buying $20 meal, and you know what I'm saying. So just being consistent when it comes to things that weren't a necessity, I feel like was my biggest mistake as a student.
Well, Deuce might could cook some chicken because Q's do, or that's their specialty.
We don't cook, we grill.
Oh, allegedly. But okay, Heaven, what's your biggest mistake, spending mistake you have made in college?
Well, believe it or not, I actually also am very frugal. So I feel like I'm kind of, with my financial literacy, I'm kind of learning to take a little bit more risk as far as money management, because we know that people don't get rich from saving their money, So it's trying to get out of that scarcity or survival mode mindset, of not wanting to spend on nicer things. So I feel like with me, myself, my flex, I literally always have all my money at the end of the year. Everybody's always like, Heaven, like, how do you have all your money? Because I go into the semester with the mindset of all my money's already gone. Now, while that may help with flex and things like that, when it comes to actually investing in myself, my future, my career, and traveling to different places and making different connections, those are things that I'm learning to be a little bit more lax with and take risks with my money. So I would say, as far as budgeting, she's doing amazing.
God bless you.
Thank you.
That is definitely a blessing. I love that. Thank you to Shemai, our amazing guest,
for grilling us.
Yeah.
Duke does well, allegedly. He grills.
I mean, hey, you know what I'm saying? Maybe one day y'all find out, when y'all get older. But that wraps up another impactful night here at Historically Black Sense News.
Yes. Make sure you keep showing love to your HBCUs, the first HBCU chain University of Pennsylvania, especially. Yes, stay inspired. And remember, we are culture. We are the legacy.
We'll see you next time. Same energy. Stay black, stay brilliant.
Good night, fam.
Bye.
That boy Shemai.